It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are live right now on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Carte Blanche for the Sports Hit List by the fans and for the fans. Thank you for spending your wonderful Wednesday afternoon with us here on the last day of March as we roll into April. So let me introduce my panel. We have Mr. Mikey Mike.
What's going on?
Mr. St. Francis himself is in the building.
Appreciate it.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Listen, I was actually saying when we came on air that I've been on a little hiatus, man. I haven't been on in a while, so it's good to see some familiar faces, good to talk sports, and good to have the common fan perspective.
Yes, absolutely. We do miss you, but listen, you guys know how it works. I have a chat for every single sport, and if no chat and if no sports are giving me any buzz of what's going on, they're not getting the airtime. That's how it works. So hockey hasn't nothing to do with any content, so we know what it is.
I'm going to be the first one to say this. I usually try to make fun of you, but I can't. You are doing your thing. I can't even call you out on saying you're not giving us airtime. It's not your fault. Listen, the NHL season, it is what it is. It's not going to start firing up until closer towards when the playoffs start. It is what it is right now with the team jockeying for playoff position right now. But we're talking about baseball today. We ain't talking about it.
Yes, we are. We have Chuck is in the building. Even though we're talking baseball, rumor has it you're heading to Barclays tonight. You're going to have some nice seats. You're going to Barclays. How you doing, Chuck?
Pretty good. I'm excited that baseball's back. It feels like it's been forever because with like basketball and hockey, they had the pauses. They came back. They finished their seasons. And then like 3 months later, they started a new season. Baseball ended in October, and we went through a full off season. So it's cool to have the national pastime back.
And we have Manny Schefter's in the building. That's what they call him in the hit list streets. Manny, how you doing, sir?
Manny the Hand Schefter. What's going on, gentlemen? How y'all doing?
We good. So who's gonna get these hands? Who are we gonna wait till the end of the show for you to tell us?
Every single Yankee hater and Nets hater. I know who y'all are. I see everybody posting stuff. And Raider haters.
All right, so let's talk about the buzz behind baseball. Do we have any? Again, I'm the casual baseball fan. I'll be the first to admit it. You guys are my experts. So is there really any buzz going into this 2021 season for baseball? Manny, let me start with you.
Actually, I want to start off with breaking news. Angel Hernandez, our favorite umpire that everybody loves, just lost his case for the racial suit that he had because apparently him being Hispanic, he couldn't umpire any World Series games or major games. So he actually lost that case. And honestly, I'm looking forward to him just completely being gone of baseball because I really despise this man. I'd rather have Joe West than Adrian Hernandez. That says a lot to me right there.
Well, Manny, thank you for that breaking news there, man. That's why we have you, for breaking news like that. Look at you right now live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
I love it.
But Chuck, so since Manny gave us that, Chuck, is there any excitement for fans going into the season or what's going on? What's the chatter?
I think the biggest excitement is out west between the Dodgers and the Padres. The Padres reloaded this offseason. They got Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, a bunch of other players. And they're trying to take down the Dodgers, who have been atop the NL West for, the longest of times as far as I can remember. So I think that's going to be a big rivalry, especially considering San Diego and LA are only like an hour and a half apart from each other. So that's one storyline to look at. Trevor Bauer spurning the Mets and going to the Dodgers. Noah Syndergaard was on Twitter, tweeting about Bauer. They had a little bit of a back and forth. It's another storyline. The Astros finally, come to Yankee Stadium. Yankee fans are still riled up about what the Astros did with their whole cheating scandal. That's going to happen, I think, in May, I believe. That's another storyline to look at.
So wait a minute. Are you telling me that MLB has taken the WWE approach and we have storylines going into the season?
We do.
Is that what we're saying right now? Look at this.
We do.
The smart marketing on the MLB part. We got storylines now, right? So who's the heel and who's the face going into the 2021 season?
Yeah, and it's crazy because, the Astros haven't been in a stadium with fans, since the whole cheating scandal broke out because of COVID last year. So we're going to have to see how they're perceived, from different fan bases throughout the league. And other than that, I think it's just going to be another year of watching young prospects come up. You know, the Wanda Francos, Andrew Vaughns, Mackenzie Gores of the world, you know, come up and, you know, do their thing. And it's going to be exciting.
So, Mike, would you second that? Are those the narratives going into this season that fans are excited about what Chuck mentioned, or is there anything else?
I will say first and foremost, Carl, you are slick. Trying to change the narrative to show that wrestling is considered a full-time sport.
Listen. You know what it is. It's WrestleMania season. You're lucky I didn't make this whole show about WrestleMania. All right? It's WrestleMania season, baby. You already know the vibes. You know the vibes, baby.
Next week.
You know the vibes. You know the vibes on that.
I do agree with a lot that Chuck had to say. I think the biggest storyline, if you want to call it the storyline, the heel versus the face. You got the heel, the Dodgers. Everybody is against the Dodgers, especially when they're throwing money at their players. They're the NL Yankees. I like to essentially call them, and sometimes now the Mets with the way the Mets are paying for players, but I'll get into that later. But what it comes down to is San Diego, that young core that they have, and they really only upgraded without giving up pieces. So it's going to be fun to watch those two teams go against each other. I actually still think it's four teams that you're really looking out for. The Yankees, how they're going to do, and I'm not saying this because I'm from New York, but essentially how the Yankees are going to do with that core that they have. The Mets, with the additions that they had, are they going to be set with just that starting pitching lineup? Because remember, our defense is forecast to be one of the worst right now. So is that going to change? Are we going to be able to essentially still be able to win games? And is our bullpen going to stay healthy? Those are a lot of question marks on the Mets. But then you got the Dodgers, the Padres, and even Toronto. Toronto made a splash thinking that they were going to be in it, but they didn't do anything for pitching. One of the biggest acquisitions was Steven Matz. That's not an acquisition. I'm a Mets fan. I know that. So I'm very curious about that. But I did actually notice with Toronto, a lot of the legacies that are on that team. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. Bo Bichette.
Vlad Jr.
Yeah, Bo Bichette. They got Biggio Jr. And then they also got Vlad Guerrero Jr. They got three of them that are legacies, and they're playing just like their parents. But I don't know if that offense without a pitching staff is really going to get them far. But it's going to be interesting to see. So I do agree with a lot of the storylines, adding in a couple of different ones.
Manny, just looking at the top of – go ahead, Manny. Go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to add, forgot to mention the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah.
Back in Smoke and Mirrors episode this past Monday at 1 o'clock, I threw in that Tim Anderson was my candidate for MVP of the year. And I feel like he's going to have a monstrous year this year. And I feel like with the White Sox, their storyline, they got Tony La Russa, who's going to be managing them. Old coach, old school type of coach, coaching young guys. Unfortunately, they lost Eloy Jimenez for a couple of months, I think 4 to 6 months, because of his shoulder. But other than that, their team going down the stretch in 162 games, I see them making the playoffs and actually winning the division. I actually have them winning. So that's a team I'm definitely going to be looking out for. I'm going to be watching them. And my expectations, again, with the Yankees, we had a decade of not making the World Series. We got shunned. We got hated on, as rightfully so. It was a shame. As a Yankee fan, there's no excuse. We got who? We got Corey Kluber now. We added a couple guys. We did minor things. I mean, Jay Bruce, I still think is a sleeper. Shout out to Greg. I was talking to him about that. But my expectation is the World Series and the championship. That's it. We have yet to make that in 10 years. It's sad. And as a Yankee fan, I am pissed off. So guess what? They need to step up.
You know what? I'm the casual Yankee fan too, but one person could say you're acting like a spoiled brat right now. No disrespect by saying that, because a lot of people who haven't seen the World Series in how many years would say that. Chuck, do you agree with him? Is it sad as a Yankee fan that they haven't made it that far?
Yeah, growing up as a Yankee fan, it's always World Series or bust, no other way around it. If you don't finish first, it's a failure of a season. And I think every team should have that mentality. I don't know why it's just like, a Yankee mentality or a Laker mentality or a Cowboy mentality. It should be a mentality for every team. You want your team to win every year. How do you go into a season and be like, yay, we made the playoffs. That's a great season. No, it's not. You want to win championships. That's what you compete for, championships at the end of the day. And like Manny said, making the minor moves with Kluber and Talion and, getting Herman back, their rotation is still uneasy. So I don't know what to expect from the Yankees this year.
So Chuck, are we going to get another rant from you at the end of the season again like we did last year?
I'm waiting for when Kluber and Tyon and Herman are all on the IL by like June 17th. And then I'm watching these scrubs like Michael King, being stretched down to a starter and him getting blasted for 6 runs in the second inning. And, Cashman prospect hugging at the deadline when the team needs obvious needs in the bullpen or a lefty bat in the middle of the lineup. And it's just going to make me frustrated. And then they're going to go into the playoffs, strike out 175 times and get bounced. And I'm already prepared for it.
So
I think, I was going to just jump in for a second there.
Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry to jump over you.
All good, brother.
I think with the Yankees especially, they're a team that has always went out and gotten the best players from their competition, right? Rightfully so. They've given better offers. They've put them in pinstripes to help them win. What we've seen over the past decade is even getting certain players, the injury bug has bit them. The injury bug has bit them. Then one player goes down. Essentially, that ruins their entire season. We saw it with them picking up players like Giancarlo Stanton. All right. People like that. Miami destroying things. Then all of a sudden he comes to the Yankees. He's been injured most of the seasons. So like a player just like that, just as an example, it just goes to show how a lot of these teams are not building around their young core like a San Diego, like maybe a Toronto, or maybe even essentially the Mets to a certain degree. They're not going over a young core. They're going for these players that are going to win now. So if they're not winning, every fan has the right to be upset because you're putting in money. You're tying up your franchise to players that are supposed to win you championships now. If they're not winning you championships now, there's no reason for them to be on your team. That's what it should always be for any team in any franchise. We see it with the super teams that we see in NBA right now.
Let's not start that conversation, please.
I'm just saying. Wait.
Let's not start this, please.
I'm not going
I've heard enough about
but,
this all week. Please.
But listen, I will say it makes sense why certain teams would go after certain pieces, quote unquote, that are going to help them win a championship. So if those pieces aren't fitting, then yes, something's got to change. And as a fan, you're going to rant like Charlie always likes to rant because it's true. I'm going to rant if the Mets don't make it.
Right. But you know what? Here's the flip side of the argument. It is, again, as a business owner, as an owner, you're in business to make money. So is winning really a priority for you as long as you have money in your pocket and you're bringing in cash?
That puts people in the seats.
The Yankees,
but some people still make money. Again, let's look at the Yankees. The Yankees still make money if they win or lose. They're still like the top drawing team because clearly they have the Yes Network where they're drawing their revenue. So a lot of owners don't think about winning. They think about, I need to put money in my pocket.
If you keep losing, are you making money? And the reason why I say that is because if you keep losing, fans are going to get disgusted, like a Manny Schefter, like a Charlie. They're going to get disgusted, and essentially they're not going to want to watch. They're not going to want to watch a Mike King on the mound and pitching as a starter. They're not going to want to watch stuff like that. And if it constantly is happening season after season, then you're going to have disgruntled fans that are going to start pulling away, and it's going to hurt your revenue, and it's going to start hurting your pocket.
Manny, let me ask you this. According to ESPN's ranking, right, going into this season, the Dodgers are 1. You have the Yankees, then the Padres, Braves, and Mets. Is that accurate ranking going into the season?
That's solid. Honestly, I mean, you could maneuver it around a little bit at times. Like you could put the Mets at 4, or the Yankees at 4, something like that. You could put the Mets at 5. You can even put them at 3. Because again, the Mets do have great pitching. That's one thing the Yankees lack. Like I feel like with this season coming forward, we're literally just relying on Cole. And granted, we should because we paid this man over $300 million. Now we hearing about Lindor wanting $400 million. So I know I want to know how Mike feels about that. But with the rankings, the top 5, I believe it's accurate.
All right. So, Mike, what do you think about the Lindor contract situation? What are your thoughts there?
I mean, to a certain degree, I feel.
Before you start, please do not pocket watch. I don't want to hear you. Okay, all right.
I'm not pocket watching. What I am doing essentially is what's upsetting me about it is that 2-year span. That instead, essentially, and it's the same amount of money if it was 10 years to 12 years, that he's really pushing for that 2 extra years. Now, if I'm Steve Cohen, I'm saying, all right, let's look at what his production will be. And is there a downside? Because essentially, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to be there till he's 39 at that point, right? So he's essentially going to be ending his career with the Mets, especially at the shortstop position. After that, you're getting minor league deals and maybe being that veteran presence off the bench after you're 39. But you're essentially going your whole career with the Mets. I like that he wants to do that. But why is it that he's fighting for 2 more years? Is it him pocket watching with that extra funding for those 2 more years instead of going that 10 years and maybe through that 10 years showing more production, asking for more then? Why is it that he needs to push, and that is his final offer, is the 2 additional years when it essentially comes out to the same amount of money between the 10 years and 12 years, just increasing it 2 more years. So, but I do want to. I want to be Manny Schefter for a second. I just got breaking news.
Oh, you got breaking news now. Everybody's got breaking news. What's going on?
I just saw. They just came out with a report. The Nationals are in COVID protocol. They have 5 cases as of right now. This is something that's still serious, everybody, with any type of sport. So it'll be interesting to see. The Nats being in protocol. They're supposed to play the Mets. So is that going to change opening day for the Mets now? So they're talking about that. The GM just came out with 5 cases. They're in protocol, so we'll see what happens and what that does. So I wanted to give that as breaking news. I don't have a problem with Lindor making that much money. He is worth every single penny, as Pete Alonso said. I just don't like that we're pulling hairs right before opening day between 10 and 12 years. 2-year difference, and we might lose him forever now.
Our Smoke and Mirrors a show presented by the Sports Hit List on Mondays and on Fridays. They did an official baseball breakdown. So for those fans who may want to get more in depth, I leave that baseball to Greg Polius and his squad. So you can check them out. Smoke and Mirrors on Mondays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Let me ask you guys this before I let you go here. The Yankees and the Dodgers, that World Series has been kind of brewing for years that people have been wanting to see. According to some experts on ESPN and Fox, you listen to them, they believe this is the year that we get it. Chuck, do we get that dream World Series between LA and New York?
As of right now, no, because I can't trust the Yankees rotation to hold up over the course of a full 162-game season and then into the playoffs. As of right now, I think the favorites in the AL, as crazy as it might seem, might be the Chicago White Sox. And like how Manny hit on, they have a lot of young players that can really hit the ball. They added Lance Lynn to go with Lucas Giolito and Dallas Keuchel. Those are 3, workhorses in the front of your rotation. They added Liam Hendricks in the back end of their rotation. They have 2 highly talented prospects in the rotation, in their bullpen, and Crochet and Kopech. So, the White Sox are low-key a very stacked team, and I think they're going to have a pretty good season. And I think they're probably going to end up being the Yankees' biggest competition this year. So as of right now, I got to take the White Sox over the Yankees.
So you're going White Sox and Dodgers. Is that what you're saying? So
yeah,
White Sox and Dodgers. Manny Schefter, do you got the dream matchup, LA, New York? What you got?
I feel like we're not going to get that. We're not going to get it, unfortunately. I still have, back in my prediction, I have the Padres actually going to the World Series. I see the Padres versus the White Sox. Come to think of it, don't get me wrong. As a Yankee fan, I would love the Yankees to get there finally. But if they don't make it, I'm going to go for the White Sox to play against the Padres. Pretty much the future of baseball is facing each other in the World Series. You got Tim Anderson. You have all these young guys, and then you have Fernando Tatis, who's going to be the face of baseball. Because we have plenty of players that are like the faces of baseball, besides Trout. You have Acuna. You have all these players, and, MLB still doesn't know how to market them. So I'm always going to throw a shot at them about that.
Mike, are you going to go with the LA-New York matchup, or are you going to go with another team? Who you got?
I actually don't think – I actually – even though they picked up Trevor Bauer, even though they got some offense, I I don't think I think LA is going to have that the winner's mentality where they're going to have some rust coming into the season. I know everybody's picking them as the favorites right now, but I actually put San Diego, as Manny Schefter said, I put them above LA right now. So I say San Diego, and just for giggles, because I love underdog stories, I'm putting Oakland in there. I think Oakland has the opportunity to make some noise with that young core. And as we've always said, we like to see the young core play each other. I'm going to say Oakland, San Diego in the World Series.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Sports Hit List as we open up the 2021 baseball season. You guys, Chuck is sticking around because he's going to do some March Madness. Guys, we got the Final Four. Before I let you two go, if you had to make a pick for your to make it to the national championship game, who you got? Manny.
Unfortunately, my Wolverines lost. Unfortunately. So you know what? Shout out to UCLA because they balled out. I'll pick UCLA to win it all. Out of respect.
I've had Gonzaga since day one. I have them going to the being the national champions. Unfortunately, my team that I wanted them to play didn't make it. But I'm going to say Gonzaga wins 62-57. I don't care who they play, but they're going to win 62-57.
All right, you guys. Thank you for joining us here. You guys take care. You guys be well. And Mike is going to be on the B Show tomorrow, so check him out on the B Show tomorrow, featuring Mrs. Solange. So
I'm excited.
You finally got the call, so
that's right.
Thank you for that. All right, we got Andres coming in, Mr. Numbers. How you doing, sir?
It's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm feeling good, living the dream.
So we were just talking about some NCAA. We're down to the Final Four. Chuck, what are your thoughts here into these final two matchups of the tournament?
I think we're just one step closer to the dream matchup that we got robbed of earlier in the college basketball season. Gonzaga and Baylor were supposed to play back in I think November or December, but Gonzaga had positive COVID cases, so they had to cancel that game. And now we might actually get it. You know, these were the top two teams ranked in the country at the time, and they're the two top ranked teams in the country now. So I just think we're one step closer. I don't see anything that tells me that either of them are going to lose on Saturday, so I just hope they do their thing, and then we get our dream matchup on Monday.
Andres, what are your thoughts here with the NCAA? Are you following it and seeing what's going on there?
Yeah. I cannot agree with what Chuck is saying. I wanted Michigan to win because of my guy, Juwan Howard. Shout out to Juwan Howard because he did an amazing job in his first year at the Michigan, Miami Heat legend. But I'm actually going to root for the underdog in this scenario.
Miami Heat legend. Go ahead.
We won a championship with him, man. Stop playing. So I'm going to go with the Cougs because I am a huge fan of what they're doing this year. Great underdog story. So hopefully they can pull it off. I'm not rooting for Gonzaga because I feel like everyone's rooting for Gonzaga. I'm not rooting for UCLA because UCLA beat Michigan. And I feel like a lot of people picked Baylor at the beginning of the tournament. So I don't want to root for them either. So I feel like to a certain extent, this March Madness, for some people, it's been amazing. For some people, it hasn't because, a lot of people are saying, oh, what if they were fans? But, regardless, you still have to go out there and play basketball. You know what I'm saying? So, with all the upsets we've seen, the people that don't watch March Madness are probably like, oh, wow, this is actually like a beautiful sport, like a one-and-done situation. So, for me personally, I'm going to go with the underdog pick. I'm going to go with the Cougs. I don't think they will win, but you only live once. So, let's go Houston.
Okay, we have the pastor, Mr. Mike Miller, is joining us. Mike, how you doing, sir?
Chilling, man. Feeling great.
Charlie's a big NCAA fan, so we're talking some bracketology as we're down to our Final Four. Mike, do you have a final pick for the tournament as we're down to our Final Four?
No, because I'm gonna keep it 100. This the first March in my life. I don't care at all. Didn't make a bracket. Nothing. I haven't been paying attention to college basketball. Shouts out to my UConn Huskies.
Is there a reason for that? Is there something that is there a reason for you not following this year, or is it just you just?
Yo, COVID has made everything in sports just crazy. It's hard to really just get a handle on anything. So just with NBA and then just other things happening in my life, of course, moving to Texas and everything like that. It's only but so many things I could draw my attention to. So just for whatever reason, NCAA just couldn't make the cut, man.
All right. So, Chuck, thank you so much. Unless you want to stick around, I know you have to get ready for your game. Chuck's going to the Nets game tonight. He's going to see James Harden and Kyrie. Kyrie's playing, right?
I would hope so. I know they have a game
right?
tomorrow, I think. So I don't want to hear no load management or anything. This is my chance to see John Wall, James Harden, Kyrie, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin all at one time. So this is my one shot. So
yeah,
fingers crossed.
You enjoy that game for us, man. Take care, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
You, Carl. Have fun, guys.
In speaking about the Nets, Mike, the chat before we even get to the chatty patty stuff, because there's a lot of chatty patty stuff like you like to say in the NBA. There's a lot of stuff going on. Kevin Durant with his tweets. We got Russell Westbrook's wife and Stephen A. Smith. There's a lot of stuff, but let's talk to some basketball first. What were your thoughts about the moves that happened with the pickups? Because a lot of NBA fans seems to be in their feelings about, LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin going to the Nets, then the Lakers getting Andre Drummond. What are your thoughts over here with teams picking up these players to help improve their team? And also DeMarcus Cousins now going to the Clippers too. So what are your thoughts here?
Man, it was a lot of movement. It seems like that last day, it was like that last dash, and everybody just was kind of like scrambling, like, who can I get? First, with the Nets, I agree with Blake because it's hypocritical. On one end, you can't cry for the past year saying Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge are bums. But then when they go to the Nets, oh, this is not fair. Every team has bums. If they're bums, who cares if bums go to a team? And you recognize if they go there, they're making them even greater, or they're bums and you shouldn't, and it doesn't matter where they're at. So I agree with Blake Griffin, but I think those moves I think everybody keeps trying to say, oh, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it does, because it provides them with more scoring, which they're already better than everybody else with scoring. And what it key does is, because see me, when I look at this Nets team and other teams, a lot of people keep talking about the chatty patty stuff. What about the basketball? Like on the court, you got to look at matchups. What is the map? They have multiple lineups that there is no team in the league that has a lineup that matches it. And so Blake Griffin, and especially LA, because he still stretches the floor, they now create a lineup, a closing five or starting five, however you want to do it. They now created a lineup that nobody can guard. And I always am an advocate of people trying to act like defense and offense are one-to-one. They're not. Offense is more important than defense. First of all, I thought the Nets pretty much, I'm not going to lie, I feel like the Nets are going to sweep whoever they play in the final. So this is just more evidence that they're going to sweep whoever they play in the finals.
Mike,
even if
Mike, I don't mean to cut you off, but just remember you are on a live platform, and we have Laker fans who are watching. Just be very careful. Tread lightly. Tread lightly, my brother. I'm trying to help you out here because they will screenshot this and save it for another time. So just be very careful, brother. I'm trying to help you out here. Andres, what are your thoughts to what Mike just said?
Mike is back. Yeah, Mike,
I'm just trying to help you, brother. That's all I'm saying. You're back.
Yeah, you can keep cooking.
Carl, you know me it's almost 20 years now, Carl. Do you think that I care? I don't care. I don't care. Like, say what I want. Like, I don't care. Like,
so in your heart of hearts, you're saying you believe that they could sweep the Lakers in the finals?
No, I honestly, okay, let's just talk basketball just for a second. What we already know they're demolished on the perimeter. We know that. We know that any time, just historically, if LeBron faces a perimeter like this, he's going to get embarrassed. We know that. Now, the difference is somebody's going to say, well, he has AD. The AD now, does he look like the AD last year? No. He was 22-8. He looked more like that guy the Nets just got, LaMarcus. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to go there. That's what he looked like. This year, that's what he was looking like. So basically, Carl, what this boils down to is, because if KD's healthy, then him and LeBron are going to watch. We know that. So what this boils down to is, you think that AD can be what Shaq was in 2000 in the 2000 finals. He could get 38 and 16. That's what Shaq was doing against my Pacers. You think AD can do that. And you also think he can do that. And you think that the Lakers' number one defense is going to stop a historically great offense. I don't. So where's the basketball argument that the Lakers could actually beat this team?
Oh, well, you know what? Listen, I don't care for the Lakers. I'm just, we don't have a Lakers
Mike,
enthusiast to come here.
Drop the mic.
Andres, what are your thoughts here with the acquisitions? We already know how you feel about Andre Drummond. We know you think he stinks, quote unquote. That's what you say about Andre Drummond. But the late pickups and the fans and the overreaction to all these late signings. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, we got two intelligent men right here on this platform. Carl, if you have the chance to acquire the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit for the Celtics, you're going to do it, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, right? So in the 90s, if you got a chance to get Michael, Larry Bird, and let's say Magic Johnson on the same team, you're going to try to do it, correct?
Absolutely.
So what's the objective of basketball? To win a championship, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Do we give awards for second place, right? No, we don't. So why are people upset that the Nets are pulling all of these moves instead of saying, damn, they made that happen, or damn, they made this signing happen? A lot of people are crying and moaning because the Nets already have the big three. I'm going to go out of a limb right now and say this. Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge are not the best player on the team, not the second, not the third, not the fourth, not the fifth, not the sixth, or the seventh best player on the team. I'm going to say that right now. So all the people that are crying about LaMarcus Aldridge and about Blake Griffin need to stop. You guys are grown-ass men. There is no need to cry. It's going to be all right. It's just a game of basketball. So when LaMarcus Aldridge woke up the other day, he was like, you know what? I'm going to sign with the Nets, and that happened, period. Blake Griffin woke up, and he said, you know what? I'm going to sign with the Nets. Like Mike said, everyone and their madre was saying, Blake Griffin is washed. He can't play anymore. No needs Griffin. LaMarcus Aldridge can't shoot anymore. He doesn't have that fadeaway spin from Portland. He's washed too. So now that they're Nets, everyone is like, hey, the Nets are building a team to stop LeBron. The NBA does not revolve around LeBron. The point of the NBA is to win a championship. I don't care if I have Kevin Durant, Steph, Draymond, Clay, the Lord, Jesus Christ, like whoever you want to have on the team. The number one objective of every single sport is to win a title. It doesn't matter who you have on your team. It doesn't matter if you have the Monsters. It doesn't matter if you have Chuck. It doesn't matter if you have Shaq. It does not matter. The only thing that matters is who's raising the Larry O'Brien. Congratulations to the Nets for getting LMA and keeping him away from other teams, and for getting Blake Griffin and keeping him away from other teams. So what Blake Griffin did 5 years ago, which was the series that he had against the Spurs, now that matters. Well, LaMarcus Aldridge did in Portland, and what he did with the Spurs his first 2 years, now that matters. So all the moaning and crying just needs to stop. We're all grown-ass men. We all enjoy basketball, but just the pouting needs to stop, period. That's it.
Do you agree with what Mike said about the Nets and the Lakers? Because that seems to be the matchup that everyone is hoping for come June or come July.
We don't even know that's going to happen.
Right. Yeah,
guarantee that. These Laker fans keep telling us that, but we don't know that. We don't know that.
But you know what? But you know what? To add to that, but you know what, Mike? To add to that point, these prime players are hurt, right? LeBron and AD aren't playing. Kevin Durant is not playing. So it makes you wonder, what's going on with their injuries? Are they just trying to hold them out until the playoffs? Are they making sure that are they taking baby steps?
The last time we saw LeBron with a serious injury, they cried because he couldn't make an 8th seed. Why do we keep acting like LeBron can get he's not faking it. He has a high ankle sprain. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. Why are we acting like when he comes back, which is the end of April, when the playoffs start 2 weeks after, why are we acting like he's just going to automatically? These LeBron fans keep feeding us this narrative that he is indestructible. That's a human being. And we saw what happened when the human being got hurt 2 years ago. They couldn't make the playoffs. And AD is consistently hurt. Like, bro, it's ridiculous. If we talking basketball, how do we know for a fact they're going to be healthy? Like, we just believe it, they lying to us, and they're protecting them from being hurt again. Come on, bro, stop.
You know what's funny, Mike, to add to your point? So James Harden is a playoff choker. Kyrie can't win without LeBron holding his hand, and Durant can't win without Steph holding his hand. So why are people crying about what's going on with the Nets?
Some great points.
This is a phenomenal point.
Some great points.
It's a phenomenal point. They suppose all of those, what Andre said, all of those things should remain true. James Harden should choke when we get to the playoffs. Kyrie doesn't have LeBron. Kevin Durant doesn't have Steph. So you shouldn't care about the Nets. Y'all don't know what y'all want to do, man. Phenomenal point. Phenomenal.
Appreciate you, Mike.
We'll just have to wait and see. Any quick thoughts on the DeMarcus Cousins signing for the Clippers? The Clippers is coming off a loss to Orlando Magic. Do we want to throw their names in there as potential contenders, or is that something that they're still trying to figure out?
Of course they are. They have the number one offense in the league. Of course they are.
You have to. I don't think it means anything getting Boogie because we don't know what Boogie we're gonna get. And the best Boogie we kind of sort of seen post injury was with the Warriors in the Houston series. He had these little spurts all the time, and we was like, it's Boogie. But other than that, we really just have never seen Boogie. It sucks, because Boogie is one of those guys where it's like, man, you saw the potential. You saw the arguably going to be one of the greatest centers ever, and it sucks. So we don't know what Boogie we're getting to know if it matters. Like big body, I guess, but it depends on how many minutes they want to use. If they're using them like the Nets are going to use. No, go ahead, Andres.
No. Sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to cut you off. That's rude. So the thing with Boogie is the reason why he didn't have a team is because players know, or the coaches know, teams know what his body is doing to him right now. Like that's not Boogie's fault. That's not any other teams in the NBA's fault. It's just like injuries are a part of the game. When your body shuts down on you and you trying to get constantly back minutes, it's eventually going to shut down on you again. So that's why Boogie's been a free agent. I personally don't think the Clippers need him. It's only a 10-day contract because they have Zubac, who's been great, and they have Ibaka, who's been remarkably great. So I don't think the Boogie signing is causing this big uproar or whatever.
The Clippers Rondo pick was it. That was the one they needed and wanted.
So a lot of people, that's another thing. A lot of people are saying, why did the Clippers trade Lou Williams? He's a bucket getter, this and that. The problem with Lou Will is he's 36 years old. His time has come, and he doesn't know when to stop shooting. So what the Clippers did by adding Rondo is addition by subtraction. You get someone with playoff experience, finals experience, who's won multiple championships. So I personally think that move was a great move. Am I expecting Rondo to play 48 minutes? No, but I'm expecting him to be a leader on the court and try to help out the Clippers. I'm not very fond of the move, but getting rid of Lou Will, with all due respect to Lou Will, is addition by subtraction. To go back,
he wasn't playing good this year anyway. It was a down year for Lou Will.
But a lot of people don't see that. That's the problem. A lot of people don't see that. That's the problem. Carl, to add on to what I was saying before, and the narrative that goes on around the NBA, because that's the problem with the NBA today is everyone is in charge of making a narrative. You can't even sit down and watch a game without someone making a narrative, and it's disgusting, and it needs to stop because every single time you wake up and you look at the sports hit list, there's another narrative going on. The Nets signed.
What's the latest one?
So, the Nets signed LaMarcus Aldridge, and it went back to super teams from the 90s when Michael had Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and stuff. So it's just can we sit down and watch an NBA game without something else being brought up? So Carl, I'm going to tell you this right now. March 31st, 4:37 p.m. If the Lakers somehow beat the Nets, what's the narrative going to be? LeBron is the greatest player of all time. If the Lakers lose to the Nets, what's the narrative going to be? Oh, they formed that super team to stop LeBron. I'm telling you right now.
It is literally what Bernie Sanders said about Donald Trump before the election. He said it was going to be heads he win, tails you lose. That's what it is with LeBron. He always wins, no matter what. He's always going to win. If he loses, it was the greatest team ever. There was nothing he could do. If he wins, it was the greatest team ever.
Listen, I know. Listen, I'm going to get a lot of flack. I got Eddie in the comments telling me that Andres, you're still salty because LeBron left Miami to go back to Cleveland, and they know that, and they know Mike, you're a hater for LeBron, so we know what it is.
Listen, just translate that to I'm hurt and I'm wrong. That's all that is. That's all that is. I'm hurt and I'm wrong.
But let's get to that chatty patty stuff that I mentioned before. First, let me start off with Russell Westbrook. Stephen A. Smith had some comments about what he accomplished.
Disrespectful. Very disrespectful.
Westbrook becoming, I guess, the leader, the franchise leader for the Wizards in triple doubles in his feet. And Stephen A., who's very vocal, went out and said, we don't care about that because his team is not winning. He has Bradley Beal. Russell Westbrook's wife decided to clap back on social media and listing, certain things that happened with Russell Westbrook while he was at UCLA and certain media personalities. I even had my own brother who was upset. He's saying, He called Stephen A. and Uncle Tom. He's saying for the level of him coming at black athletes, he doesn't come at white athletes the way he does. So, Mike, what are your thoughts here? And again, and I kind of defended Stephen A. in the sense of this is what we do. This is a platform that we do where we criticize players, and we do it here on the Sports Hit List. So we do criticize players. So was Stephen A. right in what he said, and what are your overall thoughts about the way we criticize players and Stephen A.'s approach, Mike?
So that's that you hit on a key point, Carl, and it's to Andre's point a little bit just a couple seconds ago about narratives, and what we want to deal with is Stephen A.'s substance, and what his substance dealt with was basketball related. When we start getting into the personal of what you feel about a commentator, as you said, Carl, that's your job. Us right here, it's our job to talk. But Stephen A. was speaking from a basketball perspective. What did he say that was a lie? And I'm not gonna lie. I texted my man, Ray Jarvis, gray area, because he has his opinions about Russell Westbrook. And I am one of the Russell Westbrook defenders. I do defend him. I think he's a great player. He's a legend already. But Ray's main point a lot of times is that Russell Westbrook just cares about the numbers. If you listen to Russell Westbrook's response, that elevates Stephen A.'s point and to a larger degree, Ray's point. Because Stephen A. is saying, you are great. We know you're great as a talent, but you have had all these teams, good teams, and you are not a champion. Are you the numbers are starting to lessen for me. It's just like Giannis this year. The reason why I'm talking about him in the MVP conversation is because we all keep seeing him fail in the playoffs. So at some point, we're saying, bro, your cute little numbers don't matter to us as much as they used to when you first got them, because what are the results? There's no championship. Now, everybody knows me. I'm not a guy that's championship or bust, but I am smart enough to know that if you're in this game, Carl, you remember the argument we had. What do players need? They want to win a championship. I remember that. Mm-hmm. You was yelling at us.
Yeah, for sure.
It's one of those points where, as a grown man, how can I sit here and say that is not why you're on the court? You're on the court to be great and to win a championship. You want both. Russell Westbrook's response was essentially, I'm a winner at life. It was the same response. You know what it reminded me of? The same thing LeBron said after he lost in 2011. When he said, oh, well, everybody's just got to go back to their own lives and live their life. It's a salty person deflecting from the point. The point is, bro, you're not a champion. You get a lot of crazy numbers, but where are the championships? There's nothing wrong with that. And Russell Westbrook's response elevates that point, because he started talking about, oh, I'm a champion in life. I've created generational wealth. That nobody's talking about that. They're talking about your results as a basketball player. Stephen A. was right, man.
Andres, what are your thoughts here with Russell Westbrook versus the Westbrooks?
I disagree 100% with Stephen A. because I feel like you can't tell a player like what's right from wrong. And the problem with Stephen A. is, Carl, you and I have talked about this 100 times. Just because you raise your voice doesn't mean you're right. So Stephen A., every single time he raises his voice, he swears he's right. In this scenario, what he was saying about Russ, like as a player, maybe to Doug McDermott being an NBA champion means something, but not to Russell Westbrook, because Russell Westbrook is a black athlete. He got it out of the mud. He went to UCLA. He had a 4.0 GPA, because there's a lot of grown-ass men out there, grown-ass women. I don't want to be sexist. Grown-ass men, grown-ass women that say Russell Westbrook's IQ is low. So to me, that's a stupid remark, because he has a 4.0 GPA, and a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, the grades don't reflect how smart you are. Well, that's the facts that we're dealing with is that Russell Westbrook has a 4.0 GPA. His IQ is one of the best in the NBA. Russell Westbrook, in the quote that he said, this is a bar. Are you ready? I know many people that have got NBA championships that are miserable, have not done anything for their community, and haven't done anything for the people in this world. That is the realest thing that he said, right? Mike, if I come at you, right, you're gonna ignore me the first time. You're gonna ignore me the second time, but you're gonna reach a boiling point, correct?
Of course.
You're gonna reach a boiling point where you're like, holy smokes, this kid needs to shut up, right? With Russell Westbrook, I feel like every single person in the media comes after him constantly, and he sits quiet, We've seen this with many athletes. We've seen it with James Harden. We see it with, I don't want to bring up LeBron, but we know what happens with LeBron. We've seen it with Kevin Durant. So everyone knows that Kevin Durant is a he has his burner account wherever he got exposed. So now when he responds to hate, everyone is like, oh, he's in his feelings. He's a millionaire. These players have feelings. You know, they suffer from mental health and they're human beings. So for Stephen A to come out of the blue and just take away from what Russ did 2 nights ago is just pathetic. I think it's stupid. The fact that Nina Westbrook had to come out on Instagram and say, keep my family's name out of your mouth, speaks to volume as to who Nina is as a person and speaks to volumes as to who the Westbrooks are. Like, you can't come out here and talk all this BS about Russ and then not expect to get clapped back just because Russ is a millionaire, Russ is an MVP, this and that. So maybe to these player A, B, C, and D, a championship means something, but to Russ, he's already a black athlete, so he's already has the odds against him. He got out of the mud. He's an NBA champion. I think Russ and Nina are 100% right.
Listen, but it's almost like saying, Andres, I agree with some of your points about, again, Russ being a black athlete, but 75 to 80% of the league are black athletes that have the similar story. So essentially, it starts to sound like you're saying we can't criticize athletes about athletics because they're successful in their larger lives. No, we can criticize athletes about athletics, apart from the fact that they're creating generational wealth, they're changing their community, they're active in social media. If a guy goes 2 for 30 in a game, and we say the next day, yo, my man, you played bad, you went 2 for 30. You can't argue, well, don't tell me about me going 2 for 30 when you know that I just built a community center. What does one have to do with the other?
What I'm saying is we never, like, the media doesn't like to point out Russ's success. Like, that's the problem. Like,
that's the point that I agree with. I agree that it's been too much. We always talk about what Russ isn't doing or what he's doing wrong. I agree with you. And there is truth to maybe he reached a boiling point. But Stephen A was talking about basketball. He was not talking about Russell Westbrook's life or him as a human. He was talking about his athletic, what he has accomplished as an athlete in his field of athletics. That's fair because he's an athlete.
Right. But you know what, Andres? It's the same point as like when you say, Andre Drummond stinks, right? Now imagine him hearing that or something on a platform and then he says something right back. It's the same thing as you're criticizing him, not as a person, but you're criticizing him as a player. And I think sometimes for me, I think over the last 10 years, and Mike even can attest to this, my opinions and the way I criticize players have definitely shifted a little bit because realizing how you word certain things, right? So I think Stephen A wasn't like, if he was personally attacking Russell Westbrook, I'd say, all right, to me, that's crossing the line when you personally attack these people. But when you're talking about his game, and again, his wife had every right to clap back because, again, she's supposed to, absolutely. But I think the bigger, larger part is, again, I don't think, and I've seen people praise Russell Westbrook, him breaking Oscar's streak of triple doubles.
He won MVP.
Right. He won MVP.
That was 4 years ago.
Right. But he's very athletic. He's very right. But again, it's a matter of what have you done for me lately. Over the last 4 years, we could say Russ has kind of been on the decline. And that's a fair assessment. That's not making him look bad.
He's been through numerous knee surgeries. He's been through numerous.
Right. But that's Carl's point. We're allowed to critique his basketball.
Absolutely. We critique players every day. There's no doubt in that. Right. But the problem that I had with what Stephen A said was Russ accomplished something historic and Stephen A transformed it into, oh, this doesn't mean anything because what have you done in the last 4 years?
Well, no. What was the context? He was saying
he had a 35, 10, and 20 game. It was the first time in history.
And Stephen A saying we've seen him get these numbers before. It's like with James Harden, everybody was saying, well, where's the championship? Where's the gold at the end of this little road that you're taking us on? Where's the championships? Same thing with Giannis. It's okay. Giannis is having a crazy year right now, statistically. No one cares.
But that's the problem. That's what I'm saying.
No one cares.
About the narrative thing. It's not fair to Giannis. What Giannis is doing this season has only been done one other time in NBA history, and that was Giannis last year. So why isn't he getting coverage? Once he signed that extension, Cole, let me ask you a question. Ever since Giannis signed that extension in December 21st, have you seen ESPN cover the Bucks at all this season?
No, not as much. They're not. And you see certain, and they're not talking about him as another
And that's also because there's
indicator.
other stories now.
Right,
The
they
next-
are. But again,
that's
but that's just how. Again, we know how this business works, and it's
Absolutely.
we know.
Absolutely.
You know,
Uh-huh.
Giannis's
Everybody
numbers
covers
is not going to be trending. Clearly, right now, what's trending are the Brooklyn Nets. And speaking of the Brooklyn Nets, transitioning to another person in the media and chatty patty, like Mike likes to call it, Kevin Durant. Now, normally, when I read this, I'm rolling my eyes. I'm like, should I even talk about this? But since people are talking about it, it's something I have to mention because going with the narratives, you know, Kevin Durant and Michael Rappaport with the DMs, and it's all out there now, and everybody knows everything going on. It's kind of like, wait a minute, did he say what he just said? Is that Kevin Durant's burner account? Mike, do you care about this, or is it something that we could just gloss over and just forget? Like people are gonna forget about it tomorrow?
Yo, I don't care. It's kind of sad because, as Andre said earlier, I don't think it's a burner account. KD, we found his burner account, so now it's just him now. He said, all right, yeah, I know I respond to people, so now I'm just going to respond to people. And I think he told Chris Broussard he likes to respond to people. It's the competitor in him that likes to respond and go back and forth. KD been going through this all weekend. The bigger thing for me is, I think what's behind, not the rant with Rappaport, but what's behind that. And what's behind that is, throughout the weekend, everybody has been telling him the narrative they've been telling him for 3 years. You can't win without a stacked team. And I think he's responding to it as a competitor saying, wait a minute. But when LeBron gets to do it, it's cool. And he said a tweet, somebody tweeted him, and he said a response. Somebody said, oh, you can't win without you can't lead your own team to nothing. And he said, yo, there's so many things I want to do in life on earth that I can't do without another person.
And Tom Brady said, talk to him.
It was a very basic point, but it is a point we all can understand that I have to have help doing things. And I think Rappaport and all of this, I think it's all a symptom. So regardless, I don't care about the chatty patty. I care about the larger basketball conversation of this double standard. And I'm guilty of it because as a competitor, and Andres mentioned it earlier, you know, you're just supposed to get players. But me as a competitor, I don't look at it like that in that way. I don't look at it as, oh, well, we in a tournament, let's say, hypothetically, we in a tournament, I got my squad. I lose to a better team. And then I see another squad that loses, and I take their best players and bring them on my team. And then we join up, make a super team, and beat the squad that beat me. I don't see that like that. How I see it is the squad we just lost with, we're going to go back and say, yo, bro, what can we do to get better? We get better. We go play that team again. And matter of fact, we smoke both teams. How I look at it, KD and this new era led by LeBron, they don't feel that way. They're like, yo, if a superstar is available, I want him on my team. KD is pushing back on everybody, constantly telling him, bro, you can't lead no team. You a bum. You always need everybody to help you. You always got to get all this help. And I think part of it is because he's obsessed with LeBron. I think part of him is thinking, well, why y'all ain't doing that for LeBron no more? Because he wanted to get Kawhi Leonard. LeBron wanted Kawhi. Kawhi Leonard told him,
Mike, that never happened. No, that didn't happen. Remember.
He wanted Kawhi Leonard. Stop it. He did. All the reports said he wanted Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi told him no. He wanted Kawhi Leonard. LeBron said something to that effect. He was trying to get everybody, which is what LeBron does.
Andres, what are your thoughts about this Michael Rappaport versus Kevin Durant? Like, again, this is turning into like WWE at this point, man. We got so many narratives. This is crazy. It's crazy, bro. It's absolutely crazy. I can't believe it. Again, we're not even talking basketball. We're talking about DMs.
Do you see what the league we love has been reduced
to? You know what it is? It's kind of sad. I'm sorry, Andres. It's a little pathetic, to be honest with you. You know what it really is? It really is. It's a little pathetic, and it's sad that we're sitting here and I'm having a conversation about non-basketball issues, and meanwhile, I love the game of basketball. Right? We're not even talking about dribbling. We're not talking about points. We're talking about DMs with a celebrity. That's where we're at right now. This is crazy. This is absolutely asinine, man. Andres, what are your quick thoughts, man? What do you think?
If you ever find me defending Michael Rappaport, just bury me. I cannot side with him on this one, mainly because the initial what started the fight was Michael Rappaport tweeting, KD is such a explicit word for not responding to Chuck's question. The problem with Chuck's question was it was a yes or no question, and KD responded. Like, that was it. Yeah. But then Michael Rappaport found a problem with it, And then KD, I guess he found the tweet, and then they started going back at it, going back and forth. So this goes to my statement about what I was saying earlier. So we talk trash about players because the hit list is guilty. I'm guilty. Some specific players I do talk trash about. But then when they clap back, it's, oh, they're sensitive. Oh, they're millionaires. Oh, they make a lot of money. Oh, they get to play the sport they love. So you're going to tell me that Michael Rappaport can talk all this smack about KD, but KD isn't allowed to clap back because he's soft and he has a super team.
That's fair.
I think it was mostly the language too, the type of language he was using.
Well, I'm not justifying the language that he did because it was not justifiable.
I think that's what made it what made it mushroom and what made Rappaport do the chatty patty and post it was because of the type of language KD was using. That type of language in this culture, that's not the type of language you use. And Carl mentioned it earlier. We've all evolved in the way we talk.
100%.
If somebody pull up tweets from 2010 about how I talked about LeBron when
I see them sometimes, yeah.
Carl, no.
Yeah,
Carl,
I see
how
them,
I
yeah.
talked about LeBron when he made that decision,
Yeah.
me being a former LeBron fan, bro,
Yeah.
people would get me
That's-
out of here.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's the
We've changed
language.
the language.
It's the
yeah.
language that people are saying, whoa, KD, you could disagree with Rappaport, but baby, the way you talking, like, I think that's what made it like so like mushroom is the language he was using. He was using some crazy language in the
But you know what it is,
Or
though? It's a
DM.
matter of it's one thing where it's like it's a direct message is supposed to be direct and private in a sense, but in this day and age, nothing is really private because people can screenshot and show it to you. So it's kind of like, all right, did he go out there and put it on Twitter? No, it was a private message that
Everything
Rappaport
was
is now
private.
is snitching about. So it's like at some point, was he fouling his approach in his language if it was technically private and not public? Who knows? But again, I do agree. Some people believe that athletes, it's the same thing like if you shout something at an athlete, they have a right to say something right back to you. So if you're bold enough to say it to them, they should be able to say something right back. We shouldn't have a problem with them clapping back or have comments to it. So
They know about the malice at the
just
palace.
fine. I like this KD. I don't like the language,
100%.
but I like him responding to people. I like it.
Yeah.
yeah,
wait, Carl.
would you say it's like the Malice in the Palace?
Yeah.
Well, that one, that was wild.
Yo,
though.
they
I mean,
threw a
listen,
bill on my man. Yo, listen, they threw a bill on my man. All bets is off, baby. They threw a bill on my
so
man.
you agree,
All bets is off.
Artest? So you agree with the fight?
100%.
As a Pacer fan, I absolutely. If you've ever heard Steven Jackson talk about that fight at length, they're talking about their lot. They wasn't talking about basketball. Steven Jackson said, my man went in the stands and somebody threw a beer in his face. At that point, we're not talking about basketball. And my instinct of loyalty kick in. Absolutely. Fans be going too far. There was fans on the court.
They're entitled.
Yo, bro, don't get me started with that. Yo, listen, that wreck. I had a chip that year, and these stupid Pistons messed up my chip that year. Yo, listen, man. Come on, man. They wrecked my chip, yo. Come on, man.
Do we have enough time to?
We do. We have a couple more minutes. What's up, man? Go ahead.
Mike, you're a father, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys saw this, but Dwayne Wade had an interview on the I Am Athlete podcast where he was he was opening up about his son turned girl, like he's a transgender now, and he said that when she was 3 years old, he already knew like how were they going to prepare themselves, right? So Dwayne Wade said, I started changing the way I spoke, I started changing the way I act, I started changing the way I perform like in locker rooms, because we all know what goes down in like locker rooms and stuff. So what Mike was saying earlier is we evolve as people. So when Dwayne Wade knew what was going on with his daughter, he started changing the way he acted, he spoke, because we all know these derogatory terms, like they get thrown out there, and they were thrown out there like 10, 15 years ago. So I just want to give a quick shout out to D Wade for like being an amazing father, being an amazing parent, because like dealing with that, he even said on the podcast, he was like, am I hiding my daughter from the world or from myself so I don't get criticized? You know, and a lot of people like my age commit suicide instead of like getting help or talking to someone, and that's just like a lot of people rather like kill themselves than be who they are. And you know, D Wade has been successful like as a parent with his 2 daughters and his son. So shout out to D-Wade.
You know what, I spoke about it when it was getting traction where people having a problem. My biggest issue is it's his life, it's his kid.
That's what he was saying.
Like it's like sometimes we go way too far beyond basketball. Like it's his life. Like again, we all appreciate the athletes for what they do, which is why we have this platform. But sometimes it goes beyond the sport, where you're like into the man's personal life, attacking his family. We're not made for that stuff. Like, and there's no room for that in society. Again, these celebrities, and like we said, they are still human beings. And sometimes I think fans don't understand that concept. When you're saying certain things about people, just be very careful and treading lightly about what you're saying. It's one thing when you're talking about basketball and saying, oh man, he stunk up the court or he could play better. But when you start attacking people's families and doing all these different things, and as Mike said about the Pacers getting personal and throwing stuff at people, they have every right to clap back at you. Great conversation, guys. Thank you for joining me here today live on the Sports Hit List.
Hold on. I got one more. Let me sneak in one more thing.
Here we go.
You already know what time it is. Yo,
What's
listen. Donovan Mitchell is the MVP. I don't want to hear about Jokic. I don't want to hear about Donovan
before we
Mitchell.
go, but Mike, I'm happy you said that. You see, you were thinking like I am, because Andres is one of the ones who believes that Rudy Gobert is better, and we never had a chance to have that conversation.
I remember him saying that nonsense.
Yeah, so now that he's here, thank you, Mike. So Mike just made a segment into a segment.
Before he gets the chance to explain it, and I want you, in considering your little explanation of Rudy Gobert being better than Donovan Mitchell. So the Jazz were on their little losing streak, right? They was having a little skid before and like right after the All-Star break. And then they noticed there was an issue. They was like, yo, we're getting off to some slow starts in addition to playing some cupcakes. They was like, yo, we getting off to some slow starts. We need to get on the faster starts offensively. So you know what their best player did? He decided, well, since I'm the only one that can get my own shot and get 50, how about I just start scoring more? They're on a 6-game winning streak. In the first 5 games of the 16-game winning streak, Donovan Mitchell is averaging 21 points in the first half and averaging 32 over that streak. They're on a 6-game winning streak. So their best player realized, oh snap, I have to do something different. Now they're back to being Utah Jazz, the #1 team in the league. Donovan Mitchell is the MVP. Now, please tell me Rudy Gobert is better than him. I can't wait.
He's a funny guy. Listen, man, that team goes as far as Rudy goes because the statistics show it and the eye test shows it too. When Rudy Gobert is on the court, the Utah have a top 3 defense. And when he's not on the court, they have one of the worst defenses in the league. Now, I know what you're going to say. You don't like analytics, whatever you want to call it, yada, yada, yada. I'm not saying
I love analytics.
Mike, I'm not saying you because the problem is a lot of people are very dense and they're not open to learning new things. But Mike, when you and I have a conversation, we're always like, we see eye to eye. Another sample size that we could use, Donovan's rookie year, the Jazz started at 18-27, right? When Gobert came back from his injury, they went 30-7. They lost 7 games the rest of the year. That's one sample size. Okay. So they only got. So this year, right, in the first, I think it was like 30, 35 games, Mitchell was underperforming. He wasn't the 25-5-5 guy. He was averaging, I think it was like 23, 5-4 on like terrible shooting splits. But guess who showed up? Mike Conley, because Mike Conley and Gobert started playing PNR compared to last year, and they were still winning games. And I've had conversation with numerous Jazz fans, and they've said the same thing. As much as I love Mitchell to get me a bucket, be that guy, I can't say that he's the best player because the defense is completely different. Can you say the offense is different? Yes, you can, because when Donovan Mitchell isn't on the court, the offense is still the same. Mike Conley is still performing. Joe Ingles is still performing. Bogdanovich is still performing. And the defense is a top 3 defense in the league. So as much as I respect your opinion, I'm going to have to disagree.
They're a top 5 offense. And as I just mentioned, the most recent sample size, because Donovan Mitchell's in his 3rd year, not his 1st year. The most you gave me his rookie year, I'm giving you his current year.
Okay.
So the most recent sample size was Utah got up on the blocks. They was blowing everybody out. People started to catch up to them, started to catch up to how their offense was working. Their offense was affecting their defense because their defense was horrible in that stretch. They made one little tweak. The tweak was they started to get more production offensively faster. Mainly, Donovan Mitchell started to score more. It facilitated their defense. Defense always understand something, and this is what I believe about basketball. Defense supports your offense. Your offense is that's the core that you need. In other words, what they say about the Nets, they say the Nets have to get an average defense.
I disagree with
and then they can have their great. But look, You've never heard the reverse. You've never heard a team say, oh, they could just keep their number one defense and have the worst offense in the league. Even the Chauncey Billups Detroit Pistons were able to score in moments with that great defense. You've never had that. That's because offense is such a premium. That's why the league is turning more towards offense. Offense is such a premium, and particularly in the playoffs. You saw it last year when Rudy Gobert was getting eat alive. You saw last year what Donovan Mitchell had to do to go head-to-head with Jamal Murray.
That was
because
the
Rudy Gobert gets killed
okay.
religiously
That was,
by the other centers.
That was the bubble, though. In the Jazz,
Yes, he plays a good role as a defensive anchor. That's what he's supposed to do.
In the Jazz 6-game winning streak, how many teams over 500 have they played?
None of them. Oh,
none of them.
No, none of them. You ain't hear me say they've been playing cupcakes, but they
You said it. That's what I'm saying.
But they also lost to Minnesota. Before the 6-game winning streak, they lost to Minnesota.
No, they lost
were
to the
on a
Wizards.
skid. I mean, not the Wizards. They lost to the Wizards. So they were on a skid. They needed to make an adjustment. Remember, there are different facets of what a great team has to do. You have to be over 500 against the plus 500 teams, and you have to demolish the bad teams. They're back to demolishing the bad teams. The main reason why is because their best player, and it's weird too, because Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert have the higher plus minus. It's a weird number, and this is how numbers deceive. I actually watch Utah.
I don't look at plus minus as much, Mike.
Yeah, I actually watch Utah. Utah is literally being driven by Donovan Mitchell. If they take Donovan Mitchell off that team, they're a lottery team. With Rudy Gobert, they're a lottery team.
I disagree.
With every single team that has won a championship has had a number one guy, not just a guy who's one-dimensional. Rudy Gobert is one-dimensional. He plays defense and he rebounds. He's one-dimensional.
That's enough for the Jazz to win games. That goes back to my point earlier.
Because every team needs players. Every team needs a player.
Okay, so let me throw this out there, Mike. You're saying Donovan Mitchell's the MVP, but we have Nets fans in the comments who say James Harden is carrying the load.
As much as I love James Harden,
he's playing with Kyrie. Who does?
But he's doing a lot more though. He is doing a lot.
Who does Donovan Mitchell have like Kyrie on his team?
According to Andres, he has a Rudy Gobert. So that's the argument.
Rudy Gobert averaging. You know why you're laughing.
No, but some people will say that again because Kyrie's missed a significant amount of games. Kevin Durant hasn't played, I believe, since January. James Harden's averaging triple doubles, having 38 points a game. And some people will say that he's in the conversation for that.
Carl, we would be basing it on 6 games. James Harden's only played 6 games without the 2 of them. So they're 4-2. So we're saying he's the MVP because in 6 games he can dominate?
You know what, Mike? It goes back to the argument again. We'll use this argument. I hate to bring him up. We know somebody who won back-to-back MVPs playing with star caliber players. We do know this. It has happened in history where we know with the Miami Heat. So again,
his name, bro.
Yo, listen.
It has happened.
I told you, Carl. I've been told you there are different standards for LeBron because when he got to play with superstars, nobody cared. I remember your guy Kevin McHale when he went to the Heat. I always bring this up. Kevin McHale was on national TV. He said LeBron can never win a MVP again. He said it the year he got there, and then LeBron won 2 in a row. And then when KD was with Steph, they said, nope, you can't do it because y'all both MVPs.
And
LeBron got different
standards. What I was saying earlier, the NBA right now is all about narratives. If player A, B, and C team up, this man can't win a champion. So every single one of you, every single LeBron fan, all 6,000 of you, every one of them said, hey, Steph and KD played together. They can't win an MVP, so Harden can't win an MVP. You know damn well, and if you say no, you're lying to yourself because all of you, the first thing you guys said when Harden was thrown as an MVP candidate, all of them said, Harden can't win MVP because KD and Steph didn't win 2 years. Who cares about what happened 3 years ago?
When you compare Harden and Donovan Mitchell in terms of the conversation of MVP, then that's when it matters. Because
I don't think
you have Kyrie, he has Mike
right
Conley, who's in and out the lineup. Huh?
Okay.
I don't think Harden is the MVP right now.
And who's the MVP? You said it's Joker, right? He thinks it's Joker. I think he thinks it's Joker.
I think the MVP right now is Giannis. But we all know that Giannis is not going to get MVP because of MVP.
Ineligible. Sorry.
Right. The last person to do it was Larry Legend back in the 80s. So I highly
And Larry
doubt they give
Legend
it
was
to
a
him.
champion. So sorry.
I think my order right now is Giannis, Jokic, and Damian Lillard. But
Listen,
I think
the way I see it,
Look at the disrespect. Look at that.
What did he say?
The man has the #1 team in the league, and he don't even get mentioned on Andre's MVP list.
because he
That's
shouldn't be
crazy.
mentioned.
listen, we know how the MVP works. With the exception
It's
of Russell
politics.
Westbrook,
It's
shout out to him. Right? We know it's always a top 2, top 3 seeded person who wins it. We know. Just look at the trajectory of the
Joker
of the
is out.
MVP. Joker's
Damian
out. Is out. Yeah,
He's not out though. He's still in the conversation.
They're
He's not in the
gonna
top
get the #1
3.
seed.
He's not going to get the
They're
top 3
top three.
seed.
They
Yeah,
out.
he's gonna. We
They
know.
out.
We know this.
So it's going to be Kawhi by your logic, or it's going to be Giannis.
That's what's going to come down to. It's either
Right,
going to be James
Gotta be in the top 3. That's
or
the rule.
CP3. Or CP3 is a top
I
2
don't
too
think-
as well.
I don't think
So
CP3
that's what it's going to come down to, honestly.
As much as I
Better
love him,
player
I don't
on the
think
team.
he's gonna
Devin Booker's the better player. Like people.
Whoa!
Devin
Mike.
Booker is better than
Behave, Mike. Behave.
guys. Stop.
Okay. So let me set up the narrative here, right? Because we've
Relax.
seen what CP3 has been able to do. A team that didn't make the bubble, didn't make the playoffs, is now, in the driver's seat now. What are they? Second place, right?
Second seed.
place.
Second place after they acquired CP3. And CP3 did the same thing last year with the Thunder, bringing that team to the playoffs, even though they did get eliminated. He did. And so if you look at CP3, every team he's went to, starting with Houston, the Clippers, the Suns, and OKC, they've all improved. The Hornets, they've all improved significantly because of Chris Paul.
Yo, this guy still hates Chris Paul. I'm gonna frame this video. I'm gonna put it on my wall. Carl, God bless you.
No. So let's go through this line by line, please.
Oh my goodness.
Mike, I don't know if I have time for that, but go ahead.
No, hold on. I'm gonna try not to be long-winded. Forgive me, y'all. I'm a pastor. I talk a lot. I talk a lot. So all I'm gonna say is I'm gonna quote the great Jamal Womack of the Sports Hit List. He said it a couple of months ago, and it still rings true today. If you add Chris Paul, a good player, to already good players, he's playing with them. So, in other words, if you put Chris Paul on the Clippers and the Clippers win the championship, that does not make Chris Paul better than Kawhi Leonard. It just means you're adding him to Kawhi Leonard. It's the same thing with Devin Booker. If you put Chris Paul on the Lakers right now, and the Lakers, if you put Chris Paul on the Nets, move Kyrie, put Chris Paul on the Nets with James Harden and KD, and Chris Paul's playing on the Nets, and they win a championship, it doesn't make Chris Paul better than KD or James Harden.
Adding another player to a team that's already good doesn't make the team better.
No. See, and this is why I don't like them.
It's his words.
No.
I said that. This is why I don't like you. This is why I don't like you. I said if you add, and Max said it, but it's true. If you add Chris Paul to a team that went 8-0 in the bubble, then they were. In other words, Phoenix was already projected to be better. You add Chris Paul, an all-star caliber player, he's going to make them better. That doesn't make him the best. It's very simple. If you add Chris Paul right now to, let's say, the Nets, and they win the championship, it doesn't make him better than James Harden or KD. It just means he's adding value to the team that's already existing. Why can't we see it that way? Like Rondo is not better than if let's say Rondo helps the Clippers beat the Lakers. Does that make Rondo the best player on the Clippers? No. It makes him the piece that helped them get over the hump. It doesn't make him better than Kawhi Leonard. It's very simple.
But that's not what we're saying. But Mike, I don't think we're saying that it's making him the best. It's just like he makes them better. He's making CP3 has made the Suns better though.
So you're making the distinction that Devin Booker may be the best player, but Chris Paul's more valuable.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes. Is that fair?
No.
Oh my! What?
No.
What?
No.
What?
No, wait, Mike.
No.
Can you prove that the Suns would be a 2 seed without Chris Paul this season?
Can you prove that the Suns would be a 2 seed without Devin Booker?
We can't.
Yes.
We can't prove them.
How?
We can't.
Because
We
we
can't
said
prove
that.
that.
You can't
We
prove
can't-
that.
we can't prove
because,
that. We can't prove
you want to
either
know how
or.
we can prove it? Because
can.
the Suns without Devin Booker is OKC. They were 8th seed. So no, you can't prove
They
it.
weren't an AC. They missed the playoffs the last 5 years without Chris
No,
Paul.
what I'm saying is if you remove Devin Booker from the Suns, you essentially have more or less OKC. They're an 8th seed.
Wait.
No,
Time out.
you can't make
How
that
many-
argument.
Carl,
This is where I agree with Carl with ifs. You can't make that argument.
Carl, how many
Make that argument.
60-win seasons did the Rockets have before Chris Paul came to town?
What were they the year before? 57? What kind of argument is that?
Wait. You got time out. Carl, answer my question.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I have to look it up.
How many games did they win with Chris Paul in his first year? 65.
No,
Wait, no.
Okay.
Time out. Mike,
what
I
were
let
they
you
the year
cook.
before?
Mike, I
What
let
were
you
they
cook.
the year before?
They won 57 games, and then so 8 wins is that a great advantage?
Whoa, 8 wins. So they went from the 1 seed to the 2nd seed.
They went from
the second seed to the 1 seed.
They went from the 3 seed to the 1 seed.
But they also, but Mike,
Which is the difference.
Wait.
But Mike,
Hold up. Without Chris Paul, the Rockets went 9-8 that season. You know what was the record with Chris Paul? 55-7.
But Mike also,
next year,
but Mike also to his point, they did go to Game 7 and 1 game away from the finals in that 2018 year.
Ooh, Carl, I'm so glad you brought that up. What happened the next year without KD in a Game 6 in their building? Chris Paul was playing.
We all know it wasn't the same Chris Paul. He wasn't the same player.
He was playing, wasn't he? If he's so valuable, he was healthy. He was playing.
That is a good point too.
He wasn't healthy, bro. He was not healthy.
Yes, he was. He was healthy in Game 6 in their building with James Harden. What happened?
No, he was not.
Steph demolished him in the second half.
I've seen. No, he didn't. He demolished PJ Tucker. Stop it. He demolished PJ Tucker. Go watch the film on the fourth quarter. Stop it.
Listen. Just a slight, Mike. Just a slight. You don't think he makes him just a little bit better? You don't think?
Carl, you're missing my point. I'm going to make it one more time. Chris, if you add, if I'm a really good player, in other words, let me give Andres an example. I was going to give the Miami example, but LeBron was better than D-Wade before he got there. So that's different. He was better than D-Wade before he got there. So you know he was.
Relax.
Stop.
Relax.
You know he was. Stop. You know he was better. Stop it.
Relax.
Anyways, if I'm already a good player and you come play with me and we get better as a team, that does not make you better than me. You're supposed to add value as a good player. You put any good player with another good player, it adds value. That doesn't make that good player the better.
I'm going to catch you right here, though, because
let me give you
hold on, wait, no, I got to catch you here. So when the Warriors added Kevin Durant didn't make them automatically better. He wasn't better than Steph.
I don't think.
Did it make him better than Steph?
I don't think he was better than Steph.
And Chris Paul is valuable.
Paul, I'm not saying he's not. Let me give you an example. So Shaq goes to the Lakers, right? Kobe, they get swept, right? Kobe gets better. Essentially, you get a better player. Kobe gets better. And then they win a championship. Does it make Kobe the most valuable player on the team? Or did Shaq need somebody better?
Yes.
Kobe was more valuable than Shaq.
Yes.
Oh,
good night.
Thank
you.
No, man.
Thank you.
Listen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wait, Mike, in all seriousness, Mike,
no.
You said Kobe was more valuable than Shaq?
The only year that Kobe was a Robin was 2000, and even then he still needed Kobe to close.
I love you, Andres. I love you. I'm out.
Mike, where you go, Mike? Wait,
he left.
He really left. He's saying that if you replace Chris Paul with Victor Rubio, the Suns are still the 2 seed. That's literally what he's saying.
He really left. Let me see if I can try to get him back. He really left.
Everyone knows that Shaq needed a closer, and that's when Kobe came up.
That's my God. Oh, excuse me here on the Sports Hit List by the fans and for the fans. Thank you for everyone who's watching.
One more thing.
Oh, my God. Mike really left. I don't know if he'll come back.
Come on.
Go ahead.
One more thing. March 31st, 5:18 p.m. If we avoid the Nets until the Eastern Conference Finals, we are going back to the Eastern Conference Finals.
What does that even mean?
That means that we don't play them in the second round.
So you don't play. You're saying you wait. Hold on. He says that you're his man, but okay. He had to go anyway, but he said that you're bugging. So say what you just said one more time. I'm sorry.
If we avoid the Nets until the Eastern Conference Finals, then we're gonna make the Eastern Conference Finals once more.
So that means they'd have to eliminate you beforehand, is what you're saying?
No, we're gonna get the 4 seed, and then the Nets are gonna get the 2 seed, and Philly's gonna get the 1 seed, and we're gonna make the Eastern Conference Finals.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on the Sports Hit List by the fans and for the fans. Please make sure you check out all of our content. Tomorrow is the B Show, and on Friday is Smoke and Mirrors. Take care.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.